I speak to a lot of coaches and consultants who are already making sales and they seem to be doing everything almost right. Posting consistently, getting leads, generating sales, but they just don't know how to actually scale and what to focus on next. And so in this video, I want to break down one of the most important hidden metrics that a lot of people don't pay attention to when it comes to actually growing their coaching consulting business. All right. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Leruo, and I've worked with multiple brands, scaling them to multiple six figures per month. I've also had the opportunity to work across multiple different niches over the past 6 to 8 years. And so, yeah, it's been an awesome journey so far. And I'm excited to actually share this one with you because this is one that a lot of people actually overlook. So what is this key metric? And it's basically called time to conversion, right? So how long does it take for somebody who maybe lands on your social media? Most of the people I work with have Instagram, and usually, let's say they have people following them. How long does it take for that person to go from being a new follower to actually being a customer, right? And it's really, really easy to overlook this metric because it just doesn't seem so important, right? Maybe you have great content already, and you know that generally over time, certain people eventually buy from you, and of course, you ultimately make revenue, right? But without knowing this metric, it's actually gonna hold you back a lot more than you actually might realize, right? And so on average, right, from what we've actually seen, especially when it comes to our clients where we've actually scaled to 100K months, is that they're converting for a low ticket offer within a week, right? And this is really, really crucial. So in theory, that means that they would come to your IG and they would see your profile and they would follow you, right? Within 7 days, right? Less than 7 days, they would already buy a low ticket offer, right? So what is low ticket? That is essentially anything that is under, in our case, and what I consider it, I would say under $100, right? And so generally, right, it takes about 7 days, right, for them to convert. Now, if it takes more than 7 days, usually it's like one of two reasons. It's usually an offer problem, because if you're already making revenue, right, then you don't have like a positioning problem, which is the second point, right? Positioning is basically what you actually offer in the market and how much the market actually wants it, right? But generally, this is not the biggest problem with most people who are already getting some form of results, right? And usually it's just down to an offer problem, right? And so what I've noticed, especially when it comes to selling low priced digital products, courses, whatever it is that your offer strength is going to be really important in terms of how fast it takes people to convert, right? So generally what we've actually seen is whatever outcome you promise people, we usually do two things to just get people to buy much quicker, right? Is usually we increase the speed, right, of how fast that they can get the outcome. Or what we also sometimes do is we make the outcome smaller, right? So outcome smaller. Sorry, it's written like this. And now I have more videos. I know this actually looks like not the best writing right now, but I have more videos on my channel that break down a lot of like what an actual good low ticket offer looks like. But in theory, when you're actually selling these low ticket offers, and our approach to it is you kind of want a low priced offer that gets people into your world and gets people kind of invested to buy your bigger offers much later, right? So let's say if you're like somebody who helps people get into better relationships, as an example, then you could have a very small, I don't know, $47 product on just basically discovering your love language, right? I'll just write L for love language. Discovering your love language, right? That could essentially be like a low ticket offer, right? So your low price offer should be something that is a smaller outcome, right? And the faster they can do it, the better. So maybe it can be done with AI, right? Or maybe it can be done, or maybe for example, it's like a guide on like the 50 different love languages, right? So they can just go through it and see which one probably matches theirs the best. So like speed and size of outcome makes a big difference as to how fast people actually convert, right? Which leads me to the next most important part and why this metric is ultimately so important. Because when you want to start scaling, right? And you want to get to those 100K months and you want to really start reaching much bigger markets, right? You need to have, and this is very, very important because usually the way you're going to do it in the long term is you're going to have to run some form of paid ads, and you're going to need like funnel strategies, which I'm not going to go into crazy detail on in this video. But once you get to that point, right, what's really, really important is that when you, let's say, run an ad, or you run an ad to, let's say, like on Facebook or whatever, you ideally want people to see your ad, right? and convert into money within also 7 days, right? So you actually want to have a very similar time period. So when it comes to scaling, what oftentimes happens is maybe some people run ads and then they don't get any results or they don't get any conversions. And usually it's because of positioning or the offer, right? So when you have your, let's say, Instagram, or you have an organic profile at the moment and you're creating content, this is the best time for you to already really start to refine your offer, right? And to figure out what works the best, right? And then ultimately when you go on scale and let's say you take now this, I don't know, love language thing, right? And you actually start running ads to it, you will likely get better results, okay? Now, please guys, this is also just a hypothetical example with the relationships one. It's not actually necessarily that this is an actual example that will work, right? So let's just keep that in mind. But it's one of the most important things that a lot of people overlook, because your ability to convert people quickly with low priced offers, right, will determine also how effectively you can do that to a much bigger audience, right? And like a much larger audience pool, right? So, so basically that's one of the most important things is time to conversion, right? And why I say it's so crucial, because at the end of the day, if you have to convince people for weeks and like, nurture them for super long, like maybe if you're selling a high priced offer immediately, then maybe that your situation might slightly be different, but usually that's not something that can scale, right? If you have something that has a much shorter time frame and a much shorter time frame, then usually it's something that you actually can scale with, right? And so I've seen that time to conversion has a very high correlation with all my projects that have truly been able to actually go out there and scale, right? And so I'm also a guy who prefers having always low priced offers. So even if you have a high priced offer, let's say you have a coaching program, I don't know, for like, more than $100, of course, if it's a coaching program, most likely many of the people I work with, they're charging at least $1,000 plus, right? But usually I have these low priced offers, that bring people into their world, because then you have, this much quicker conversion that gets them going. And then eventually they build enough trust to buy these things later. And then when you do things like running ads much later or scaling with those, you actually just apply the same kind of like customer journey, right? Where you have the low priced offer into the high priced offer. That is essentially this metric and what it's all about and why it's so important. So I hope this video makes a lot of sense, guys, on time to conversion and why it's such an important thing. Now, every week I share a video just breaking down what we're learning from our different projects that we're scaling, the different lessons I've gotten over the years. And so if you want to get more content like that, drop a subscribe. And also, if you guys want to apply to work with my company where we actually go and help you scale your offers, then you can actually visit my link down below. All right, guys. So then I look forward to seeing you in the next video and hopefully one day on the beaches of the world.